What's up, guys? Our wrestling podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious along with Jess, the Total Package, Craig, the British Bulldog, and Cuz is off this week, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Can someone feed me today's topic?
Dave, we're talking 1993. We're talking the Bill Clinton years. We're talking Life Was Simple. We're talking high school for this little rowdy bunch right here. We are talking about SummerSlam, the season of the Lex Express, when Lex Luger defeated Yokozuna and then held the title for the next 5 years. We are talking Detroit, Michigan, SummerSlam 93.
Craig, you were going into your senior year in high school, and Dave and I were going into our junior year in high school.
Yes,
that took place.
Yeah, that's dating us a little bit. And I think this was way more complicated than our high school years, to your point. This pay-per-view, this whole time in wrestling was so complex. I'm sure Jess will cover the background into it. But first, for audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019 or at Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. Jess, do you want to get into the back stuff before we talk about the venue and everything else? What do you want to talk about first?
This was so many people forget what a crazy year that 1993 was for the WWF especially. WCW was crazy too, and I think professional wrestling in the United States landscape was not as big as it was. It was really in the decline here. To make matters worse, the steroid accusations were out. The lawsuits were being filed. They were getting ready to start the trial, which eventually started at the summer of '94. So 1 year later after this is when the trial kicked off and started happening. But the accusations were already heavy. You could tell, we'll talk about it later, guys that were normally big were not very big anymore, and WWF was forced to go into a different direction. On top of the fact that earlier this year in 1993, they rebooked WrestleMania 9 around the returning Hulk Hogan. That return was like a fart in church and did not work out. So Yokozuna won the title from Hogan at King of the Ring 93 in June of 1993. Which was 2 months before this pay-per-view. Bret Hart would win the King of the Ring tournament. They still wanted to keep the shine on Bret, even though they put him in the backseat to Hulk. The Hulk experiment failed, and now they're retooling yet again in the same year. So 1993 for the WWF especially was a big area of turmoil.
This took place on August 30th of 1993 at the Palace in Auburn Hills, Michigan. There was an attendance of 23,954.
That is a big crowd.
That's massive, by the way. That's massive.
And it's a 250,000 buy rate, according to Wikipedia. And we open up to the Lex Express. We got VKM opening up.
I'll be your hero.
Yeah.
I'll be your hero.
It's so funny. And then, so Vincent Kennedy McMahon is working the mic with Bobby the Brain Heenan, which I thought was a lot of fun. I think they're better
than Bobby Heenan. I
miss him so much.
And you get the feeling McMahon loves being with him too. Like you can feel him exchanging glances with him the entire time. Like
he's like, "Whoa, yeah."
Once you see Bobby's all, never mind.
But I do notice little nuances where you feel like Vince is giving him a look and Bobby's like, never mind.
Yeah.
There are times where Vince is like, hey, you're taking it too far.
You've also got Joe Fowler, a new guy coming in who used to do sports.
I know he was famous for sports and info TV commercials, but like, is it bad that I look back here and I wanted him to work out? He wasn't bad.
He was good.
You could tell he was uneducated a little bit, but like he did
enough research to know what was going on with the storyline, and he did fine.
The only one that kind of treated him like a dick, I think, was Michaels, and I think that was his second or third interview.
Never. Michaels is nice to everybody.
But you're otherwise crazy. Why would you even say that?
It's almost like he derailed Michaels by asking him a question, and Michaels was like, "Oh, the questions will be shut up."
Don't forget that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Craig.
And then Todd Pettengill was also in the crowd. That was another friggin'.
Oh, we'll get to the Steiners interview right now.
I'm going to say
don't
whatever
forget
you say, stupid guy.
The Feekins are The Fink is our
it
ring
gets you
announcer
upset.
here. And don't forget, Jim Ross and Gorilla Monsoon were on WWF Radio here as well. And according to Vincent Kinney McMahon, this was on
they
air.
really kicked Jim Ross right in the dick, like when they hired him. He was his debut pay-per-view was WrestleMania 9, and then by SummerSlam 5 months later, fucking radio WWF with Gorilla Monsoon.
You guys I remember watching all these pay-per-views, or not watching them. We all just huddled down the radio together on the stereo, and we just listened to
looking forward to the Gorilla and the JR to do commentary.
WWF Radio.
And according to Vincent Kinney McMahon, this was on air in 160 countries. I'm not sure if that's really true, but it could be right.
He's lying. So okay. So I wasn't off. Van Vader was WCW World Heavyweight Champion. The WCW title was actually vacant in like 2 or 3 days after this pay-per-view. Dustin Rhodes would win it.
Oh yeah,
Arn Anderson and Paul Roma were the WCW Tag Team Champions. So I was
only
off on
half
that
wrong
one.
on that one. On that joke.
And the WCW World Television Champion was Rickus the Dragon Steamboatus.
Ricky. There you go.
Yeah. So I recovered nicely there.
And before we get into the first match, there was a dark match with Owen Hart defeating Barry Horowitz in 8 minutes and 32 seconds.
Oh, such a beautiful match.
Here, and so then he got changed and put on a shirt and then went.
Yeah, he got changed and he was.
He took a shower, got dressed up, tucked it in, and got in the crowd.
Okay,
that's exactly what happened.
Now we're going to jump in. So, to say the least, the hype of Lex Luger and the Lex Express was massive coming into this. The WWF machine was behind Lex Luger like almost no one else in the history of the WWF. Basically, they pushed him. He literally toured in that bus for about 2 or 3 months before SummerSlam. We were at house shows in the pond, and I remember Luger specifically coming to do a promo. He, quote-unquote, just pulled up in the Lex Express and did a promo about how he's going to be...
Picked him up at the airport, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I remember him jumping into the ring, and he fucking tripped over the top rope, and it was great. I specifically remember that happening.
Yeah.
So they were in full force with Lex Luger for 2 or 3 solid months after he slammed, 2 months after he slammed Yokozuna on July 4th on the aircraft carrier. So they had a massive, massive push for Luger. So the buzz was big. I know we're going to get into it more, but the push was so astronomical here at this point for Lex Luger. You legitimately felt the momentum.
To think what could have been if he had any charisma whatsoever.
Yeah. So let's
they were
right
really
in here.
trying to get it out of him, bro. Having him hold hands with kids throughout the airports and out the buses.
So they had like a little vignette here about how the Lex Express pulled up to SummerSlam. Gene Okerlund narrated it.
On his face, he almost can't hide how much he hates being the fan.
Like just sitting and sleeping on the bus.
Like when he arrives, the opening promo on. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get to that. I just want to.
Well, you know what's sad though is like to your point is if he was Lex Luger of today, he would have loved it so much. I think he took it for granted, especially. And he would say, I think he would tell you that right now. He'd be like, "Yeah, you're right. I did. I messed it up."
Even the promo in the beginning when he pulls up to Detroit or supposed to do the scene and there's a whole big crowd and he's literally just like pushing everyone away, like it's security. He's like just trying to go into the arena.
He's like face palming them. He's like,
I feel like they were trying to get those Hogan moments where remember when kids ran up to Hogan's motorcycle? He was like, "Whoa, brother!" But he was still like,
they were, and it's gonna play into my Hogan rant later in this review.
It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good.
So the opening match here was Razor Ramon versus Ted DiBiase in a singles match.
Man.
7 minutes and 32 seconds. This was actually the very first pay-per-view that Razor Ramon was faced. This was Ted DiBiase's final WWF pay-per-view as an active wrestler. He would retire after this shortly. I think he did tour Japan and he was done. This was a very safe match and a good opener. I gave it a B- because it wasn't anything special. Wow. You could tell DiBiase was a shell of what he was before. He was very light with Ramon. You could tell with his punches and kicks. But Ramon, it was just to get him over. The crowd absolutely, from the beginning, supported Razor Ramon as a face. It was ridiculously loud for him. Hit the razor's edge. 1, 2, 3. Credit to DiBiase for having a bad back.
I seriously feel like you stole my notes here. Like not even even to the grade. The grade is exactly the same.
Yeah.
The only thing you didn't write is I thought it's really horrible to say, but Bobby was so bad here.
I did write that.
Did you hear what he called him?
No.
He called him a Desi impersonator. Right when he took a drink. Right when he's, I'm like, oh my God, Bobby.
That's not bad. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I
miss
love
Bobby
me some,
so much.
I love me some Desi, so I think that's a compliment. I put $1 Million Man takes control early. Razor is just way over here. To Jess's point, his first pay-per-view off of being a face. Razor's overpowering, so $1 Million Man is resulting to a lot of heel tactics. To your point, to stay safe, the turnbuckle is stripped. Razor uses it on the $1 Million Man. The Razor's Edge is hit 1, 2, 3. I put Greg B-. The match was to continue Razor's face run, and that did the job just fine.
Yeah. Razor Ramon to the buckle! No! No! What a reversal! At the Razor's Edge! No! Up across the back! Look at that, ladies and gentlemen! That's unbelievable! Teddy, no! To the camera! Razor Ramon hooks the leg! Here goes! No!
Yeah, same grade, B-. Fun fact, you can go in and see before Razor's entrance, Ted DiBiase goes to the turnbuckle trying to loosen it up before the match.
I didn't see that.
I didn't see that.
Call out.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I didn't realize this was his last. He seemed kind of nervous and tentative. And I was going to say this.
He and IRS had been tag teaming for like 2 years
all
before they split all up, and then they split them up. Yeah,
they were champions, right? At least once or twice.
At their prime, this match should have been incredible, but it kind of was a little.
I didn't write that on my notes, but I thought that I was like, if you bring the Ted DiBiase of 89 or 90 against Ramon here, they actually probably would have stole the show.
Yeah. But it was good. It was good to see. Razor looks fantastic, and then that's the safest. Since you said his neck, that's the safest I've ever seen Razor give someone the Razor's Edge, where he goes to his knees big time first, and almost like helps him slide down. So it was maybe they had some chat or something, but they took care of each other.
I just in my mind right now, like they were in character having that chat, and DiBiase's counting out dollar bills, giving it to him to take the Razor's Edge like lighter, and he's all like laughing as he's giving. So there's a segment here where so real quick on Todd Pettengill. Today's Jess, 44-year-old Jess, actually looks back and respects Todd Pettengill for what he did. He was like the guy who had to take over after Gene Okerlund, and Vince wanted the new young look, right? So Todd Pettengill was the quirky like radio guy that they got to do the interviews, and he tried to be funny and all that stuff. The 1993 Jess hated Todd Pettengill. But looking back now, he had a thankless task trying to take over that position after Gene Okerlund. And that's what was happening here, was that transition before Gene went to WCW. And so they had an interview segment in the crowd with the Steiner brothers' mother and sister. And I'm going to get in major trouble. If you guys want me to edit this out, I'm going to. But their mom was a because So first of all, it's okay that you're not used to the camera, right? And all that stuff. But Todd Pettengill is laying it on so obviously like kitty for them and slow.
Doesn't she say like whatever you say?
Yeah, exactly. Right? That's what made me mad. And she goes, yeah, sure, whatever you say. Like that, I was like, what the fuck? I was so mad at her. I was like, I'm sorry. Maybe that was harsh what I said. But
prep her, they put her in a bad spot.
Even if you don't prep her, you
reacted out of nerves. And maybe she did not hear him.
Probably. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's bullshit. Like, it made me so mad. I was like,
don't put her on camera if she's not ready.
Yeah, right. And I'm sure they prepped her a little bit. You don't think that the WWE production, like Bruce Pritchard or someone fucking prepped her and just said, just go along with what I say? Don't literally say, yeah, I'm going along with what you say, pal. Like, shut up. Like, don't say anything. Just be like, that sounds right, Todd. Say something like that.
Were you always tell them to go outside when they were wrestling in the house?
No, yeah, sure. Whatever you fucking, you're dumb. Yeah, whatever your script says, idiot. Like, it's like, oh my God, I'm so mad.
You can tell his sister was a lot more cordial about it. She's like, oh yeah, the brothers. Oh my God, it was ridiculous, and
she at least tried to play into it. I'd rather her be over the top like the sister than totally being like, this is all fake, like the mom pretty much did. Like,
by the way, how many dudes literally died who tried to date the sister because of the Steiner brothers?
Yeah, and they stretched them.
Like, I would honestly say not because of the Steiner brothers, but because of Scott.
Yeah, she was 90s cute for sure. And there was guys that came. I believe her when she was like, yeah, they would come in and take one look at them and be like, I'm out of here. I got to go.
Yeah. There was a guy in like a wheelchair and a straw eating through a straw that was like a stupid.
And I was worried about my stupid bitch comment for the bomb.
Yeah.
He wrecked all my keys.
We'll talk about the inner workout.
I just wanted to date her.
So the
But don't forget, while that's happening, Jim Cornette interrupts to announce the Heavenly Bodies before the match actually
How
starts.
good was Jim Cornette too? He was a lot in this pay-per-view, but he was good.
He was talking
again.
about
I will save my
everything
notes
was
for Jim
cheap.
Cornette for the promo before the main event. But
Very good stuff.
the next match is for the WWF Tag Team Championship. The Steiner Brothers, the reigning champions, defeated the Heavenly Bodies, which low-key awesome tag team, by the way. Tom Pritchard, Bruce's brother, and Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey. They were in Smoky Mountain.
Runs a
but
wrestling school out here with Mayor Kane.
Yes.
Glenn Jacobs here in Knoxville. And
Yes.
yells at people on Twitter. So good job, Dr. Tom Pritchard.
Whoa.
We loved Joe and I would laugh all the time at his little gigolo hip wiggle, and his back moonsault off the top rope was awesome.
So great.
I put huge pop for the Steiners in their hometown, I know, but
Sure.
fuck, man, they were over. This was a by-the-book Steiner match, but that's okay because you know what? Like, you just got to go in there and feed the Steiners. Good, solid fun. I give it a solid B. I like this match a lot. It wasn't the best Steiners match. It wasn't meant to be. This was a WWF Steiner version for sure. But the Heavenly Bodies did their job very well, knew how to sell for these guys, knew when to get heat, knew when to back off. The crowd was absolutely into the Steiners. It's so sad to me that the Steiners' reign in WWF was short. But at the same time, imagine if Steiners never signed with WWF in '93, their tag team division would have collapsed way sooner than it did without the Steiners. So here, there was really no tag division. I mean, you think even 2 years before, in like 1991, they had the Orient Express, the Rockers, the Bushwhackers, the Rougeau Brothers, the Legion of Doom, Demolition, the Hart Foundation. You had so many tag teams. And then 2 years later here in '93, you had none of those guys left. It was like the Steiners, the Heavenly Bodies were brought up here from Smokey, and I don't even know if the Quebecers had formed yet at this point. There was really no, you'll see later we had the Head Shrinkers and Smoking Guns, but that's really it. Like, there was no tag team division anymore here in 1993. So at least they had the Steiner Brothers who were a legit tag team attraction back here.
You can argue that with the trial being, just imminent, and all these guys that are just swole have to go, and the tag team guys weren't that, so you split them all up. Like Brett's on top here pretty much, right? Look how much Lex has shrunk, and Lex could probably work tag team if all the big guys if the Giants were still around, right?
Right.
The Rockers might still be the Rockers. Who knew? I mean, I know Jenny had a lot of issues, but everybody's getting broken up here. Everyone's on their own now. Everybody that had a lick of talent in the tag team
and you
division
can tell that he was not
individual roster.
He was not reinvesting in the tag team division here either.
No.
I think there's something to that Pritchard would say. He's like, I hated paying 4 guys for one match. He hated that. I think
when business is good, you do it. When business is bad, you don't do it, I guess, right?
So yeah, you're paying 2 guys for the same 20 minutes.
Yeah. What was your grade, Dave? What did you get?
Did you give us your grade? I'm sorry.
A B.
Oh, a B. Okay. Oh, I graded it a lot higher actually, because I honestly, when I look back on this, I'll give you the layout. Like, Rick is basically double teamed before the bell. He gets attacked, and Scott regains that control. The belly-to-belly suplex by Scott is just ridiculous. The crowd loses their mind. The press slam is unbelievable. The bodies are in full bump mode right now, and Cornette is just doing amazing work for heel heat. But the bodies actually do get some work, and I thought for sure this is going to be a squash at first, and I would have graded it at a B if it was a squash. But looking back, their tag work was really good. Like,
they knew how to frame the Steiner Brothers. They did.
Awesome. But they got their moments in where they regain control. But then basically Rick, as usual, gets the hot tag. You see the bulldog, the power slam, and then he takes that racket hit. Right, that's that Jim Cornette classic. And the bodies missed the moonsault. Frankensteiner 1, 2, 3. I gave it an A-. I was really impressed with the match. I had a lot of fun, and I was happy to see the bodies get a lot of good work in. I was going to grade it a B at first because I thought it was going to be a squash, but I upped it once I saw the bodies doing good work. And Cornette was great. He was making me laugh.
No shame in that grade. Craig, what do you think?
Yeah, I give it a B. I think I held a little high standard, much like Razor and Ted when I first saw it. I was like, on paper, this should blow the roof off the place. So I think maybe it was more too heavily Steiners for me because I liked Heavenly Bodies, and I remember them fondly.
Okay.
But
I think of it differently, yeah.
The crowd was completely behind the Steiners. It was they were pumped for this. I loved their Michigan music. I loved them when they come out with their jackets. I loved this kind of phase of them. It was fun, but it was I couldn't give it an A-, but it was a good solid B.
Yeah, I think it was because I was thinking that the bodies weren't going to get any work in at all. When I saw it, I was happy. You were thinking they should have got more in, so you graded it less.
Yeah, but of course, why would they in Detroit and Auburn Hills? And
well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, why would you get any work in at all? I thought they're going to destroy them. So the Steiners showed a little bit of a hey, let's get some of your stuff in too. That was
there an interview segment, Dave?
Oh yeah, there was. Joe Fowler is with Shawn Michaels and Diesel, and you can tell it's an okay promo, I guess.
Diesel truck, go.
Actually, I thought that Diesel did a better job with the mic than Shawn did.
All joking aside here, like watching the beginning of Diesel and Shawn is kind of cool. And like watching they were so infant here. Like Shawn was
finding themselves, yeah.
It's like Shawn was going through puberty, you know, he wasn't comfortable with his voice yet, he wasn't comfortable with his body, and he was trying to promo. Yeah, he was like smacking the gum, and he was trying so hard with the glasses and the tilting him and stuff, and Diesel, you know, was like just there. Diesel had only been with him for like a couple of months here. Yeah. So which is funny because on Bruce's podcast, like him and Diesel would always joke, like when they get ready to go out, he'd be like, yo, Bruce. And he'd be like, yeah, Diesel. He'd be like, what do I got to do tonight? He was like, you know. And then Diesel would just go like that. And Bruce would laugh because Bruce just tell him, all I want you to do, I want you to wear one black glove and rub your glove. Rub the glove. That's all he told him to do. Like, yeah.
That's great. I didn't know that.
And Kevin Nash in interviews has been like, yeah, that was the best advice because he taught me how to just be in the background, not try to upstage anybody. Yeah, just be big and be cool. Like, so it was awesome.
That's awesome. That's so good. So next match we've got.
Next match is for the Intercontinental Championship. The reigning Intercontinental Champion Shawn Pudgy Michaels took on Mr. Perfect.
That was more alcohol bloat, but
it probably. So
we can relate to that.
I'm just gonna get into it, man. This match never clicked for me. Mr. Perfect was never really a good face. Also, the way this match was booked, I had a major problem with because Perfect was never really in trouble to get the crowd behind him. He out-wrestled Shawn Michaels in the beginning. Diesel really didn't do anything until the end. This should have been their blow-off match, by the way, because we actually saw these guys face on a house show about a month before SummerSlam at the Pond in a house show, and Michaels went over. He pinned him like with cheating because Diesel distracted him. So they were touring the horn with Michaels getting the pin. So this match should have been, which actually their feud started at WrestleMania 9 where they had a cool brawl, and then they had that famous scene in the early Monday Night Raw days where they went outside and was fighting on the streets of New York in front of the Manhattan Center. And that was a real like famous scene, famous angle. Wow. So they drugged this feud out for like 3 or 4 months so they could tour throughout the summer. And this was not a blow-off match. This was disappointing. And the ending sucked. And I'm going to give Shawn Michaels and Mr. Perfect a C because like they just couldn't get out of first gear. I was so disappointed. I remember being disappointed as 1993 Jess. I'm disappointed watching it now. Some guys are just oil and water, and they never click, even though the names, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, and Shawn Michaels are legendary. And people even back here in 93 were considering Shawn a great worker. I think Mr. Perfect wasn't ever the same after he came back from his injury here in 93. He never shook off the ring rust. He never got into first gear. And I really can't stress enough that he was uncomfortable as a face. He was never comfortable as a face here. But Diesel should have been interfering every fucking 5 minutes in this match. Every time. It's okay that Mr. Perfect was out wrestling Shawn.
Right?
But yeah, Diesel should have been hooking his leg when he'd go to run off the ropes. Diesel should have been distracting the referee. There should have been every reason for Perfect to get on the outside of the ring at the end and punch the shit out of Diesel.
You could argue that's Diesel's fault. Maybe there should have been more. We don't know.
Referee continuing to count. Wait a minute. Oh no! Did you see that? Well, Perfect asked for it. Referee didn't see it, but the referee didn't see it. I can't believe what I see. You better believe it. Listen, the winner of this bout as a result of a countout and still Intercontinental Champion, Shawn Michaels.
It doesn't work. Mr. Perfect as a face never worked, and I think you struggle with that. But Kurt Hennig struggled with it anyway. What I'll say is that Perfect is really bumping quick, but Shawn takes advantage of the back injury because you can see that. But then the Perfect Plex hits. That's when Diesel interferes finally, and they ran Perfect into the corner. But Shawn wins by countout, and I just don't get it. C+ on my part. Perfect should have been pinned and save face with all the outside interference.
Yeah.
Perfect even gets beat up after the match. He doesn't even get to save face when the match is over. Like everything was wrong.
There's no reason to save face by only having him lose by countout.
Exactly. So you could have been pinned due to the distraction, and then get something, get a cane and beat those guys up, and then go out with the crowd on cheering you, and then you go away for 6 months and get healed, and then you come back with more heat. It does none of this makes sense, and that's why I agree. Except for the stuff in the beginning, I really enjoyed where Perfect is out wrestling him and Sean's getting noticeably frustrated. That was good storytelling, but that's where the good storytelling really stopped, and it had nothing to do with where the match should have gone. To Jess's point, yeah, Craig. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll give it a B-. Again, third match on the card, third straight match where on paper should have been classic and just.
Well, and not to interrupt you here, it made no sense that they booked the tag team and IC title matches second and third on the card right back to back, and now you have no more title matches besides the main event. It's weird. They should have. Yeah.
Good point.
And and knowing that it kind of goes almost south from here, even like with these three supposedly building up a great card. For me, I was disappointed, and then I kind of cheated and looked at the rest of the card. I was like, oh, really? Fuck. So this should have been great, but I'll B-. Yeah.
We have a segment, Dave?
Yeah, we got Fowler.
With Craig, you're being very nice, by the way, Craig.
And then you get an interview with Fowler, interviewing the 1, 2, 3 Kid, and everything.
Which was fitting because Kid was nervous and Fowler was nervous. So
like, I am nervous. I got the butterflies there, Jim.
I don't know whether this was the period or just after this. I think they started to grow back, but I don't think he had his full eyebrows at the moment. But the whole 1, 2, 3 Kid, his first photo shoot and his first trading cards, he has no eyebrows because on a rib, Mr. Perfect shaved them at night.
I did not know that. That's fucking great.
So if you go back and look at early 1, 2, 3 Kid, his first promos when he has like no eyebrows, it's because Kurt Hennig shaved them. I believe this promo, they're just starting to grow back, but I laughed at that memory because they weren't full and bushy or whatever, and it was just so like, I'm just kidding, Mr. Fowler. I'll give him my best hand. But he was, I was totally bought in '93, and I kind of bought in right here. He's so young and eager.
No, he was a bright spot here in '93. So the next match is 1, 2, 3 Kid against IRS. I put that it was super weird that the Kid lost clean during his push. It made no sense to me. It was a so-so match because of it. I gave it a C-, but it really should be a D+. Not because either guy was bad, but because it was an odd match and just even though the lariat. Why did he not go over?
I thought the same thing. Yeah. I was like, was it at the end of the push when it like?
I know they pushed IRS for the rest of the year. I think they knew DiBiase was done when they split the team.
Yeah.
So they wanted to keep IRS as a strong heel, but I'm not saying he shouldn't have won, but he shouldn't have won with a lariat out of nowhere. He just pinned him clean out of nowhere. It doesn't make any sense. So
it also makes you believe that the match was kind of pushed at the last minute because maybe like Ted's like, I'm done, so there's no tag. I mean, you could argue that maybe IRS and Ted were supposed to wrestle the Steiners, and because
or Ramon and the Kid.
Yeah, and they had to move everything around because if Ted's done and he just has to do one last card and go over and get out, and he can't do a tag match to the level with the Steiners, then you got to pivot, and that's why you're bringing.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is that they were trying to preserve IRS as a heel because they knew they needed heels going forward.
They needed something. Yeah, because they were losing. People were dropping like flies.
Did you give a grade, Craig? I'm sorry.
No, he did not.
I did not. What did I give it? I'll give it another B-. Props for he was never on camera, but kids when 1, 2, 3 Kid took his outside bumps, it's like he did it completely like flat on the stomach, or like he went completely overboard every time IRS dumped him out or he fell out of the ring to where he just hurt himself unnecessarily.
He was trying
stomach bumps. He was just a bump machine. And that kind of push off drop kick where he went like 8 feet in the air or whatever is fantastic. But yeah, this is not. I'll give it a B. I won't do the B-. I'll just say a B.
Shyster reversing it now. The Kid coming off the rope.
He'd like to be called Shyster.
Right. Oh, my.
What would he like to be called? He's got R. Revenue. For revenue. Right up.
The cover. 1, 2, no.
Yes.
Yes, he got him. Now let me show you something, McMahon.
What do you mean?
On the brain scan, right?
On my brain.
B. This is for you, Sean. Thank you, Sean.
Nice. Just so
David.
Nice. I was really irritated that IRS was already in the ring. I was like, gosh,
was he really? I didn't even notice.
So irritated. I'm like, oh my
He always was, though. That was always a thing for him.
And by the way, when he's in the ring, he's talking shit.
He's talking to the crowd about being tax sheets. So he
well, because I want to play his theme music. Are you ready?
Yeah. Oh, that's it.
That's his theme music. He literally had no theme. He had none. Yeah.
So now we've got Todd Pettengill interviewing Bruce and Owen Hart. Like I said, Owen got showered up and
So
looking
much
good.
to talk about in this match, by the way. Go ahead.
Oh God. So yeah, this.
And they were
this
live
is
in the
so
crowd.
bad.
It was a live interview in the crowd, right?
Yeah, live interview in the crowd, and you could tell like I don't know what it is with Bruce Hart. He can't. Like
I'm
don't give him a
just gonna take it.
microphone
I'm gonna take it right now.
So go ahead.
So it was supposed to be Bruce Hart and Bret Hart doing the feud.
That's why he was pissed.
That's right.
Yes. So Bruce Pritchard has confirmed this, that Bruce Hart actually wrote the storyline.
I should be fucking in there. I should be fucking in there. And Bruce. Sorry, guys.
It's great because you see that Bruce is like, even during the match, Bruce is like extra animated and trying to push himself in there. It was supposed to be Bruce and Bret. Bruce was the one that was going to turn on Bret or start the dissension at Survivor Series, and it was going to be Bruce and Bret at WrestleMania 10.
Oh my God!
Yes,
God.
Yes, Bruce.
Right.
Bruce wrote that storyline. Bruce Hart pitched that to
Vince
McMahon.
like, that's great, but you're not going to be in it.
No, and then Bret stepped in and said it should be Owen.
Yeah.
Owen is the better wrestler. Bret even said he's just as good as I am, if not better, at things. Owen is the one. He's been on your TV. He was part of High Energy. He was part of the new foundation. Like he should be. You know him a little bit more. Bruce is dry. Nobody knows Bruce. So and Owen is younger. So Bret was like, you could do the younger brother's jealous. Bruce was older than Bret. So Bruce's angle was my younger brother stealing all my heat. I'm the older brother. I should be looked up to. That was Bruce. So Bruce wrote that storyline.
Anyway, stupid Bruce.
Exactly. Bruce was always like the narcissist of like the Hart family. He was like a booker, always booked himself on top in Stampede. Like he just wanted to be a star, Bruce did. He legitly pitched that whole storyline to Vince and Bruce and Pat, and they said they loved it. And then Bret stepped in behind his back and said it should be Owen. It shouldn't be nobody else. So Bret won, obviously. So it became Owen after this, which they didn't show any dissension here. But the next pay-per-view is Survivor Series, which was supposed to be Jerry Lawler's court until he met a young girl. And then after that, he got taken off TV, and Shawn had to step in, and then it was still the Bruce family.
He went to court.
Yeah, Jerry Lawler had to make things worse. Steroid trial wasn't enough.
By the way, did we share on that group chat that Jerry Lawler tweet? When he's like, "Good night, beautiful," and he said himself like,
he's
or whatever.
He's
like,
fans only page.
Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, he's a problem child.
Somebody responded back. Is that your fans only page?
Yeah, that comment was great.
That comment was great.
Sorry. It's my only fans.
That's my thing here is that everything we're about to talk about, it started here with this feud and then it went on to Survivor Series, which made Owen kind of start the dissension. It was originally supposed to be Bruce and Bret. That was the original plans for the brother rival thing.
So
whatever.
much sense.
It's incredible.
I am so glad that it was Owen and Bret at WrestleMania 10 having that classic.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. So that's
getting into the match. I just want to say before we start, I had to actually have a discussion with the team while watching this. I'm like, are we going to call these matches together and grade them together?
Yes.
And thank God Jess said yes, because I was like this. It's a clusterfuck, but in the best way. So
the next match is Bret Hart versus Jerry Lawler for the undisputed kingship of the WWF. This was all about story match rather than quality. So Bret comes down, Jerry Lawler comes down with the fucking water bottle strapped to his knee and made this bullshit story up about being in a car wreck and his knee was mangled and so he can't wrestle.
Which was really great, by the way.
No,
like that was the best part of the entire thing.
I will put that over because Lawler is a genius here. And then he said, so he
blamed Detroit Auto Work on his injury.
The way he tied it to freaking Detroit Auto Workers.
It's classic. Yeah. It's classic, like territorial.
Back the whole thing, like on television too, like
classic territory heel promo.
I'm going to tell you something, Bret Hart. You're a hated man here in the World Wrestling Federation. And back there, all the other wrestlers came up to me and said, King, let me go out and take your place. Let me go out there and give that Bret Hart the beating he deserves. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to let somebody give you the beating you deserve. My self-appointed court jester, Doink the Clown. Oh!
What is this? Doink the Clown. He's got bucket.
Promo. And so he can't wrestle, quote unquote. So he hired a court jester, Jester, which is Doink the Clown. All makes sense. And this is Matt Bourne, by the way, who played this character beautifully. So
the best Doink period.
Brett and Doink never got out of first gear, but it wasn't supposed to. It was supposed to foreshadow for the fact that Brett puts Doink in the sharpshooter. Doink's going to give up. Jerry Lawler says, "Oh, just kidding, I'm not injured." Hits Brett, beats the shit out of Brett with the crutch.
Broke the crutch.
And beats the shit out of him.
Bret Hart turning him over. Yes, he turns him over. No. Well done. There's got to be another Doink here. Wait a minute. Jerry Lawler. Wait just a moment. There's something wrong with the knee. There's something wrong with the leg of Jerry Lawler. Look, he's not using that crutch. It's a miracle. He can walk. Jerry Lawler put that crutch in half. What's Bret Hart? Can you believe that? Bret's brothers have gone bonkers. You can't blame them.
Lawler was a fantastic heel.
I have to ask, do you think that crutch was gimmicked? I just have to ask. I don't know if it was. He hit it pretty hard.
I don't know. I think he hit Brett
really
over the
hard.
strong part of his shoulders and knew it would break, and it just looked good. But I'm sure he did. I'm sure.
Say that. I bet it was gimmick. It broke at the right spot.
He did it safe, though. I think Lawler would never do anything to impress. So after that, after he gets up and hits Brett with a crutch, Jack Tunney comes down and says, "Bullshit." He said those words, "Bullshit." He's like, "The fans paid to see this match. You're going to wrestle." So he made Lawler get in there. Then now starts Jerry Lawler versus Brett finally. And Brett pretty much, Lawler gets some heat on him or whatever and cheats and stuff. And they do most outside brawling, which is fine and safe. And then Brett ends up getting him in the sharpshooter. Craig and I stole this ending for our OWF match where Brett beats him in the sharpshooter, does not let go, has the sharpshooter on for it seemed like forever, but I'm sure it was 5, 6, 7 solid minutes, which is a lifetime. 17 refs come out, try to break him up. He won't break it up. Finally, he breaks it up. The referee disqualifies Brett for not breaking the hold. So the winner of the match and king of the WWF by disqualification is Jerry Lawler. And I'm going to let you guys, because I know you guys saw the genius heel work that he did, Lawler, on the stretcher on the way out. So I'm going to let you guys talk about that. But I gave the matches a C+ because it wasn't designed to be anything better, but I give the story an A.
Discussion going on with the official. The referee's on the outside of the ring. There could be some permanent damage done.
The referee has reversed his initial decision as a result of Bret Hart refusing the official's instruction to release the sharpshooter.
Who's the king, man?
Therefore, as a result of a disqualification, the winner of this bout and the disputed king of the World Wrestling Federation, Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh, yeah. Who is the undisputed king of the World Wrestling Federation? Come on.
The crowd was silent.
Can I read you what I wrote, Jess? I said storyline,
go.
I give it an A with some match flaws. And the one that really bothered me with the match flaws, because you talked about Jerry Hammer with the clutch and with the crutch, it was great. Tunney said he had to wrestle. I have all those same notes. But the one flaw that I saw that was really big and it just really upset me, and it's the ref's fault. Why there's 3 refs there at the beginning of the match, of the actual Lawler match, I don't get. But that ref looks right at Lawler using the crutch on Brett on the outside and doesn't do anything because he knows he can't disqualify him there. And I'm like, he totally
Bill
messed
Alfonso,
up.
right? Which one was Bill Alfonso?
I think it might have been.
He was the ref.
Yeah. And I was just like, dude, what are you doing? Get out of there. You know you're not supposed to be in that area. Get out. I mean, all the refs' fault, but that was the biggest flaw that I had seen. I don't mind the outside work. I don't mind that kind of stuff coming from Jerry Lawler because this was all to push Brett in a certain direction, to get him a little more angry. To get
And
him
Lawler attacked him at King of the Ring 93, made fun of his family, insulted Helen and Stu. And so Brett was pissed off. So
I give the whole storyline piece an A. I was really amazed by it but my issue was if we had to break the matches up, I would have had to grade them separately and they would have gotten horrible grades. But putting the whole thing together as a package, it's easy to give it an A. That's what I wrote.
Yeah.
I think my issue with the whole thing is just time. I know they were trying to keep Brett happy. I don't know how long it was from Lawler coming out to the very, very end with Brett celebrating.
It was a long,
brothers. But it's that's too much time for this all to happen. Knock 10 minutes, knock 15 minutes off, and you still can tell the same story with the same emotion. Brett sells that he's exhausted and he's had 2 matches, and overcome all the odds and family overall and Lawler.
You could have done a whole story at a house show with Lawler being injured and taped it and played it over 5 minutes and then had them finally wrestle each other.
I have no problem with the whole entire fake injury and then the heat on the crowd. Like you all knew it was bullshit anyway. But like gave too much time to Doink, but it was a decent match. And then the Lawler and then the whole like interminably long and the sharpshooter. Like I was hitting Peacock 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds. And all of a sudden there was literally 15 people in the ring. It's just like,
none of you can force him to let go. Like, come on, there's a ton of you in there. But
I totally get it, and I believe I'm with you guys. It's storyline in effect, it's perfect. But like in execution, the awkwardness of Bruce and Owen and held back, and there's some holes in it. And I'll give the rest of it a C. Over wrestling and for the taking up my time and how much they took, I'll give it a C. I don't know if that's too much but
by the way, at the beginning, when Doink came down with 2 buckets and he threw confetti at the crowd and then splashed Bruce with the actual water,
I loved it. Yeah.
that was a rib.
Was it really?
Yeah, Bruce
really?
said, yeah, he didn't know.
So he was really mad. He was really upset.
Well, he slipped and fell. You notice he reacted and slipped and fell because he had no idea what was coming. And then so Bruce on his podcast said that it was a rib. Like they threw water on purpose, which is great. It seems like it. They stole the storyline and they soaked it with water.
And then, so I guess was he the Fookery in Stampede then?
He was one of them. Yeah,
He was probably just like Stu Hart Jr.
He probably earned it. He earned it. I'm sure.
I'm sure he was a tough wrestler and all that stuff, but like, there's a difference between a tough wrestler and someone that should be on the national stage, and he's not it.
So, Craig, I know you gave it a C, but I got to tell you, you're getting ready for an A+ promo here.
Stop it. So tell me about this promo, and I just want to preface here, the next 2 matches, let's go through quickly because they're trash. So let's just save some time. So go ahead.
Ludwig Borga promo with America crumbling. This is America crumbling. You see it here, and that's what I'm going to do to you, Craig. I am the best promo worker ever.
This was the best promo that Ludwig probably ever did. That
which is probably 25 takes, which is probably 30 takes.
The building didn't even look that bad. It was just Detroit. Like so it's like they stopped at the very first thing and they did it that day. Like they had to just quickly put it together. Sure. And I can imagine Bruce Pritchard was there, like trying to produce it.
And he's trying to roll boys out. Like this, like
also calling out Lex Luger and then channeling like that being kind of the next thing, which seemed either too early or maybe it was telegraphing him I don't know, not winning.
No, you're right. Actually, that's a good point. Either you're trying to say that Ludwig Borga is going to be ready for a world title shot right after this, or that Luger's not going to win it.
And Luger's going to lose. Yeah, exactly.
So if they did it that day when knowing, or see, I don't know.
So the next match we're going to go to is Ludwig Borga versus Marty Jannetty. Real quick, bathroom match, grade D. Uh-huh. It was just it was meant to get Ludwig over. It was like a little info commercial for him. That's my grade. Go ahead, Greg.
Nope, I'm going to go through move by move. So in the beginning, when they locked, it was awful. I just give it a D. Like whatever.
Yeah, it's a D. I love that there was a Ludwig hate section in the crowd. This match was way too long.
Ludwig and a half, for God's sake.
Yeah, it was so long. I'm like, what are we doing here? Total D. Yeah, we all graded a D, easy. Then we had a Survivor Series promo.
And then Ludwig is in Die Hard 4, whatever he was in. Like he's one of the bad guys in like.
He was in right? There. Yeah.
Well, I forget what Die Hard, but it doesn't matter because he wasn't there long.
I think it was 3.
Yeah, and he ends up he's a literal white supremacist and was banned and never whatever. So fuck you, Luke Poirier.
Yeah, good. Fuck you. Goodbye. Yeah, because he had a tattoo actually under his tights of white supremacist something or whatever. So fuck him. So the next match is Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez in an RIP match, which makes no sense. The match is horrible. What the fuck is an RIP match? It wasn't a casket match or anything. Undertaker just pinned him clean, and then there you go. That's an RIP match. Grade F.
I gave it an F. I said Taker slums it for years. What a trooper. What a trooper.
Yep. Craig,
he really wrestled some shit people for a long time.
No, he did. He paid. Undertaker's great.
He's going down. He's not down. Wait a minute. The Undertaker's going up, but he's not down. The Undertaker is going up to the top rope. But Gonzalez is getting up. Giant Gonzalez spinning into the Undertaker. A cause for life on the top. They're both down. 1, 2, down. No. It's all because of Colbert and the urn. This is not right.
God, they gave this match so much time. Again, Peacock, I was hitting the 10-second button over and over and over and over and over.
I'll give you advice. Voice control, 1 minute.
No, the art of the last ride in the Undertaker series on WWE Network. Go back but he's for years and years and decades he's joked that like the worst thing McMahon ever did was make him work with Giant Gonzalez, and it showed this time.
And even though for the record, Giant Gonzalez is a good guy, everybody says he's a good guy by all accounts. He's just terrible. So I'm sorry I'm speeding this up because I know we're going to talk about the main event a lot. The next match is a 6-man tag: the Head Shrinkers and Bam Bam Bigelow against Smoking Guns and Tatanka. This match was a lot of fucking fun, tons of cool spots, major surprise. Bigelow and Tatanka had major chemistry. Again, the same house show loop that we saw in '93 at the Pond. There was a singles match with Tatanka and Bam Bam, and they stole the show. They were great together. The guns were green, but they worked really hard here. And Head Shrinkers were stiff as always and great. I gave it a solid B. It was second only to the Steiner match. This match was fucking good. The triple headbutt, and then the triple headbutt at the top rope, and Bigelow and Tatanka. This match was. These guys worked fucking good for a 6-man tag. This match was fucking phenomenal.
I'll go as much as to say this is the best match of the night for me, and I gave it an A.
That's fine. It was so good.
I'm not going to argue with you. I gave it a B- probably because I was being too critical of it, but I really enjoyed it. Fatu.
No, you're not being critical at all. It's a good
super
match.
kick. Bam Bam was amazing. Shawn Michaels has left the building was announced before the match started, which I loved it whenever that happened.
All the Head Shrinker super kicks on the fucking Smoking
fucking
Gun.
Awesome. Those are the slaps that
look
like they killed their face. They broke their face.
But don't forget, before this match started, Fowler was interviewing Yoko, Fuji, and Cornette gives a
we missed that. That was
interview.
too much.
But that's where I was saying that was the Yoko interview, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I want to say this about Jim Cornette. You know, a lot of we live in a very sensitive world right now. So, and I'm not. Some of it's justified, some of it's not. And Jim Cornette's been, he's fired from NWA for making an off-color joke that he shouldn't have made. But a lot of people label him as something he's not. Let me tell you what he is. Everybody talk right now. If I asked you guys who the greatest manager of all time is to you, we're going to say Bobby Heenan. And I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve it. He does deserve it. But if Bobby Heenan is 1A, then Jim Cornette is 1B. Jim Cornette is a fantastic manager. He's one of the best speakers. His promo with Yoko and Fuji here was great. Yeah. And he was always great with that. To put him as the American spokesperson of Yokozuna was a genius move by Vince. Yeah. It was a partnership with Smoky Mountain Wrestling, which Cornette owned. And so that's why they did it. That's why the Heavenly Bodies were on the pay-per-view as well. And Jim Cornette is so fucking good. And you can agree or disagree with his politics, but at the same time, it doesn't matter. I'm talking about just his body of work. Jim Cornette is a wonderful manager. If Bobby is 1A, and I believe that Bobby should be the best, but I think Cornette is 1B, or definitely a close number 2, if you want to get like that.
If Jim Cornette is wonderful. Cornette, and if he didn't want to fight everyone and be the guy
that's his charm. That's his personality. That's him.
That's who he is.
Doing this for the next 20 years. This is like his peak in WWF.
He would have been Paul Heyman 30 years prior.
Yeah, exactly right. Like he just burned down his own bridges and
because Paul Heyman eventually realizes, hey, shut my mouth.
I got to make friends. I got to make friends here. Yeah.
Yeah, and Cornette was not interested, but he was amazing. So
the only problem I had is Giant Gonzalez attacked him, and like 20 seconds later, he's doing this promo with a neck brace on. Right?
No, that was Harvey Wimpleman. That was
Harvey.
Yeah. They said earlier. Cornette had the neck brace on in the Steiners match, and McMahon said that it was because from Smoky Mountain somebody attacked him in Smoky Mountain. So he was selling his injury from Smoky Mountain.
And then can I say what I wrote here? I'm like, are we really interviewing the Lex Express driver right now? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Why are we?
So we're getting ready for the main event, and they interview the driver. Which, when you think about it, can I be honest for a second? Yeah. Maybe that's the guy you would interview. He's the guy who had to travel with Luger for like 3 months, like in a fucking bus.
I told Lex on day one. I said, "Here's what we do: we take number ones. We don't do number twos on the bus." He ignored me, and for 2 months, he did number twos. He would bring all kinds of crazy women, although he is married and does have children, and I do not appreciate that. And then also, he is a compassionate human. We did go to a children's hospital, but he stayed exactly 45 seconds, and then said, "Fuck this, where's my Coke?"
Oh my God!
He's a good man. Go, Lex Luger. Yeah, it was such a weird. It was like Hank or something like the
the grand finale, the culmination of all this hype was the interview with the bus driver. At the very end, when you really think about it.
Pettengill also interviews a fan soon after, just out of nowhere. Not sure what they're doing with Pettengill here, but it's interesting.
So
then we have the
we're
main
going to
event.
go to the main event of the evening. The WWF Heavyweight Champion Yokozuna defends against Lex Luger. They had a big double. Some Japanese guy came out and sang the national anthem. Aaron Neville came out.
This whole thing.
Aaron Neville, now stop. And apparently you had to put Macho Man out there, whatever, to give Luger the rub.
You're next. Yeah.
But it's fine. It's fine because all of this was total typical WWF overhype, the machine pushing as hard as it could. Everything's fine. When Yoko's music hit, the crowd booed. Yeah. I smiled. I was like, dude, this is Vince just doing 1 + 1 is 2. Yeah. There's nothing new that he's doing here, just like the Brett and Lawler storyline. Old is good. Old is smart. Like the old way of doing things.
You knew they couldn't go 45 minutes, so
this is Nikolai. This is Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov heat. Yeah. Like this is beautiful, and Yoko was such an amazing athlete and a star on its own here. He was awesome, and he comes down, and Luger came down to the corniest music, which was like the what is it? Star Spangled Banner.
Stars and Stripes Forever.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the crowd actually went crazy for Luger. It was a massive buildup. Macho Man introduced him. Everything was big. You know what? I watched this match for the first time. I've seen SummerSlam many times since 1993, but I've never. I just watched certain parts of it. You know, like Ramon or like the Brett thing or whatever. Yeah. I watched this match for the first time, I can honestly say, all the way through since 93. I'm sorry. They fucking both worked really hard. I'm sorry. Like, this match was booked out perfect, so Luger couldn't fuck it up. Yoko was great. We tend to remember the shit ending that I think that taints this match and this pay-per-view. But, like, this match was really good. Like, it really was. Luger did not fuck up. He was fine. Like, everything was fine. The crowd was with him 100% all the way through.
I was with you all the way to match.
The only thing that fucked... No, dude, the match was fine. The match was fine.
I'm with Dave.
The only thing that fucked up was the ending made no sense.
We all agree on that.
I say overall, because they worked hard, the grade was a C+. It would have been a B- if Luger would have went over clean.
I don't think we're that far off then.
No, we're not. We're not.
The count out made no sense, especially because the stipulation was put in that if Luger didn't win this match, he didn't win the WWF title, he would never get a match again.
Getting back to Yokozuna, he was so. Those Island boys are such great workers, and he was one. I mean, I think he's one of the greatest top 3 big men. There's a lot of good big men, but Yokozuna. I'll never forget the thing for him is he'd have hit him with like 2, 3, 4 clotheslines. He wouldn't go down. Each one he'd go further back, and he'd have that long hair would come out of that thing when you hit him with the clothesline, and he literally could be on his feet in the ground behind him, almost like a yoga move.
Oh, leaning back.
I mean, think of the flexibility and the balance involved in that. I mean, he was absolutely an amazing guy. I mean, very light with his work. It was like a night off when you worked with Yokozuna.
Again. Like, so it made no sense that Luger was celebrating at the end. People put him on his shoulders. The balloons were falling.
There was a thing, if he didn't pin him, then
yes,
he never...
That was the whole thing. That was why people were so pissed off. So there was a stipulation that Jim Cornette announced that if Luger doesn't win this match, he'll never get a match again. So the fact that Luger won by countout, in Vince's mind, he thought that would be enough for the fans to get behind him. But Luger should have went over here. You could say but here's my defense on Hogan and my rant from earlier. Not the 93 Hogan, the earlier Hogan. I agree with you all 100% that they pushed him like Hogan and he fell short. Yes, I agree with that. However, if Hogan was wrestling Yokozuna here and they put this kind of hype behind Hogan, he was going over because he's Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Luger, for some odd reason, didn't have Vince's ear, didn't have the locker room support, didn't have whatever. They were still kind of in Brett's corner, kind of in Luger's corner. Even though Vince hyped Luger as much as he'd hyped anybody in the history of WWF, there's no reason why Luger couldn't have gone over here and at least worn the belt for a couple months and lost it back. There's no reason why
it couldn't have balloons and have an entire face locker room come out for a count out.
Did you notice that they played a whole montage and Yoko was still on the floor covered in balloons after?
That's right. They did the montage right after.
He was still passed out, yeah. So that's my statement.
So weird.
Craig, go ahead.
Yeah, Craig, give it up, man.
Yeah, we're not that far off. I think all that to say, I think you were romanticizing the match, and all to say that you didn't hate it.
Still gave it a C. Yeah.
Because of the ending. I would have given it a B-. They worked hard. Luger didn't fuck up.
No.
Like Yoko, it was great.
Hey, Craig. When a match is really bad, but we don't want to say it's bad, what do we always say on this podcast?
They worked hard.
That's right. They worked hard.
Yeah,
but it was only bad because of the ending. I don't think the quality was bad. You're putting those words in my mouth. I'm not saying.
I'm not saying you're. I'm joking.
For Lex Luger.
I apologize.
Yes. No. You don't have to apologize. For Lex Luger. This was an A+ match for Lex Luger. Yeah. Would you agree? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but it's not.
But you'll never give Lex Luger an A+ match in your life.
He rose to the moment of it where he did that thing where he didn't kind of screw it up.
Right.
But it's still what.
Even though there were moments where I was like, there were moments where I was like, and it didn't screw up.
It's coming. It's gonna happen.
But that is not good enough if you want to like run with the ball. Like, and I think up until 2 hours and 15 minutes of being disappointed,
Warrior was champion. What are you talking about?
I kept but at least at least he was spastic enough to be like, wow, that guy's nuts. Like, but Luger was like. Luger, I was, you know what? I was so disappointed that like the 2 hours and 15 before it that I didn't give it a shot like you said, Jess, where you watched it and soaked it in. I did fast forward a lot through the opening.
I soaked it in
a lot of the match and to the ending. And while I love and respect Yoko for doing 20 minutes and that culmination of 2 months on the road and Luger looked like $1 million.
I know, but think about it. This could have been a goddamn disaster. Like, it really could have, and it should have. But even their stare off in the beginning, I was like, when they stared off at each other, and Luger was like,
what's he saying
to him? What's he saying? Like, calm. Yeah. I was into it. I was like, dude, they did everything right. They didn't rush the intros. Luger stood. They did a stare down. Like, it was awesome. It was awesome, like, in a way. And I was like, but even because it led me to the ending where I was so disappointed in the ending, I was like, how could you drop this ball?
But then they still tried to take you home happy with.
That's not even
right. Steiner's lifting up. I was like, what the fuck? You just made the fat man outside to like for the count of 10. Like, you did nothing.
Not the count of 10, the count of like 5 minutes.
There's the Big Daddy, all right. There's 600 pounds of Yokozuna. Moving in the buckle. Look out, here it comes. Here it comes. Yokozuna charging like a locomotive. And missing. Oh, that's hip block, hip block, hip block, hip block. That was a body slam.
5 minutes beyond montage. I mean, he was still out there.
He slammed him. The crowd went crazy when he slammed him.
Slam him, bro. He couldn't get.
No, you can't.
It went
really
nuts when he missed the bonsai drop on. Like they were into it.
Yeah, they were all into it, even up till the end. They were.
They were brainwashed for 2 months before, like since the Intrepid, to expect like it was all played perfectly except for the execution of the ending.
Yeah.
So which I don't know why.
So here's what I wrote. The best part about this match was that someone spent a lot of money and made a Yoko tuna sign. Go back and go watch it back.
Yeah, I saw that.
Go watch it back. It's hilarious. And it's actually it's not like a cheap sign that they made. Like they went to a place.
They hated Yoko so much that they're like
exactly. But I wrote, this is a slow match. I feel like Yoko's really struggling. I want to ask, like, how hot was it in the center of that arena? These guys are they're pouring sweat.
When you showed Fuji on the outside, Fuji was just standing there and sweating. Yeah,
like it's hot down there. So, and I feel like Yoko was really struggling. He's really slow to go. I don't know if they're telling him to slow down for Luger. I can't see that because Yoko, for a big man, we knew he was able to move. He's super talented, and I wasn't seeing that in the beginning at all. And the double axe handles where Yoko is like just has his head up and he's like waiting for another one. I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I'm looking at right now. Like he's looking at the light.
With that. I get that.
I'm like, this is so dumb.
It's Luger. And he almost slipped on the first when he got on the top rope. He almost slipped really.
Yeah, he almost slipped again, and then the double clothesline. Come on, Yoko is going to take you down.
But even after the double clothesline, listen to the crowd. They were fucking on their feet chanting Luger and like it's crazy.
I'm just looking at match work, and then that he'll work with this stupid wicker basket. That was so bad. That thing's bouncing around the ring. Like the ref, there's no way the ref couldn't have seen it because they throw it in there. And
he didn't, Dave. There's 23,000 people in there. He has no idea what's going on.
He has no idea. He hits him with the basket and then drops it, and it almost bounces to the other side where Yoko can't get it.
Yeah, he had to run and get it.
Yeah, he almost couldn't get it. And then when he tries to get rid of it, it bounces back into the ring. And I can't remember if it's recorded or who, but so they have to go get it before the ref can see it. They have to run.
Why do you have to rain on my parade? I had such a good memory of this match.
Why did Fuji lay on the apron for 6 hours?
He had a heart attack.
Oh, that's what it was.
Why don't you just roll off?
But I will say, when Yoko finally got to lay some,
he just collapsed and lay.
Yoko had some belly to belly suplexes that were amazing. That he's always incredible when he did those. Misses the butt bomb, but then you knock Yoko out of the ring and you win by count out in the freaking main event. It's so bad. In spite of that, Jess, I gave the whole thing a C, so I'm not too far from you. Gave it a C.
Look out, here comes Lex Luger! Yoko's at my feet. He is out cold. Come on, Yoko, get up. Yokozuna. Yokozuna's out. Oh, he's on the good ship. Oh, wait a minute, Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette is on a man that's injured with a bad neck. And he deserves it. Luger's won it. Lex Luger's won the match. Lex Luger has won the match.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of this bout, as a result of a countdown, Lex Luger!
And don't forget that fantastic montage at the end. And then
they still hammered it home.
They hammered it home hard.
They had another video of the bus driving over the horizon.
And then on top of that, bro, they go to what has to be a video recording because Lex was in poured sweat after that match. And they go to the back where he's supposedly celebrating, and he looks like what Jess, like before the match is, behind him with the signers and a few other, and Tatanka. And then Ludwig ends up challenging him to a match. So you know that the title run opportunity is over for Luger right before the credits even run. There's no way he's getting another match because Ludwig is coming in to challenge him.
And Vince at the end was so like, this has got to make Jack Tunney push Luger and get him another shot or something like that. Like, it was ridiculous.
Like, no, I don't.
So I've done, listen to so many shoot interviews or whatever. It was not, I know a lot of people want a juicy kind of story or whatever, that Luger sucks or this or whatever. Yeah, bar story or whatever. But the truth is, and I've heard it from Bruce Pritchard's podcast and a couple other people's podcasts, is that they were just trying to make Brett and Luger at the same time. They were just trying to see which one the fans would go with. And if we have, I was talking about Heenan and Cornette. If we have a 1A, we can have a 1B. Let's split business. Let's, Let's try to make two faces. Let's not have a Hulk Hogan again. Let's have two Hulk Hogans.
I just know that you're not comparing Luger to Cornette though in talent range, but
no, not at all. I'm saying the way I compared Heenan and Cornette to 1A1B. They were trying to push. They were trying to push a 1A and 1B as their top two guys here at this time, and that was just Vince's thought process. Yeah. Vince was coming off the Hogan era. There was no rule book on how to do this.
He would never know what he has until he threw everything
after the decline of rock and wrestling, and you lose the greatest superstar ever in the history of wrestling, Hulk Hogan. Like, what do you do? Where do you go? So now, and then the steroid trial hit, so you have to have smaller guys. Luger was noticeably like 240 pounds here when he was normally a big bloated 275.
Like 280.
And he's getting house reports every night of like either Luger has it or he doesn't, and what's the crowd reaction. Yeah. And maybe those reports at night.
Not only that, he's there. He's traveling with every house show.
If he jumped in the ring and he tripped like he did in Anaheim, we saw him every night. Like, and it was awkward. It's like he's not the guy, Vince. Like you could see the attempt. Like you could.
That's when WCW took a strike.
And this led to Owen and Brett soon, like within 6 months or whatever. Like there's some really good stuff.
Sean and Razor.
Sean and Razor. Yeah.
Well, the ladder match is coming up. I forget. That's right. Yeah, the ladder match that sparks it all. So
overall, was it a good experience for you guys? You don't have to give it a grade.
I was pleasantly surprised with most of it, but I already knew.
Did you feel good? I mean, you can't feel good after the Luger finish, but did you feel?
No,
good?
But I felt good. You know why I felt good though? Because I enjoyed Razor. I enjoyed the Heavenly Bodies. I was pleasantly surprised, and I really enjoyed the 6-man tag.
Yes.
I forgot about that completely. I'm like, oh. When I first saw it, I was like, oh. And then it came out. I was like, oh, this is. Oh,
But then, yeah, you saw like.
Oh, okay, this is good.
Yeah, Bigelow and Tatanka started the match out, and they were so fucking crisp and bumping hard and like crazy. And I was like, dude, this is really fucking good.
Yeah.
When we were
assigned,
sorry,
I was pleasantly surprised. Go ahead. Sorry, Craig, you got it.
when we were assigned a WCW pay-per-view, I always gear up and like to like just for the worst. With this one, watching those first 3 matches out of the gate, like Shawn and Perfect and Razor and Ted and what was the third one? Can't remember, or the second one.
Steiner's.
Steiner's. I wanted I wanted it to be great, but by the end I was disappointed. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, I think you're right.
Expectations, but
This is why match placement is so important.
yeah, but and also mindset. Like Jess said something earlier about he watched it with an eye on nostalgia, which if you do that, I think you appreciate the era and the entire Lex Express summer. And I think,
don't appreciate
the mindset.
Yeah, I hinted on the end where like Luger should have won. If Luger would have won, like this pay-per-view is a totally different pay-per-view.
Yeah,
completely.
Well, especially if you push those matches where you push him and he wins, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
But somebody changed their mind somewhere. I mean, that's without a doubt. Without a doubt. You don't have 600 balloons or whatever it is and a whole montage at the end, and you're interviewing the driver. Like,
Right.
Brett's like, okay, don't go with Bruce and don't give the title to Luger.
That is all Brett's fault.
He scooped my heat. Don't like Bruce scoop my heat.
Scoop
Don't
my
give
Scoop my heat, bro. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio,
O.W.P. Radio, you guys. Check us out.
Yeah, check out O.W.P.
Grill him on too, Jim Ross.
we got Cuz running the O.W.P. Radio. That's why he's not here tonight.
Idiot.
Yeah. Or watch our videos at YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at OWP2019 or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. This is Dave, Jess, and Craig with Cuz on O.W.P. Radio signing off.
No, Cuz.
Have a good one.